Texas is the Wild West,
yes.
actually, because the trash man can also become an injector.
Yeah, I wanted to be a dentist.
You don't have to have a job as an injector to go actually learn how to become an injector.
Right. I also do think you have to have a level of love for medicine, because this is medicine.
Because your first day on the job is a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so it takes a long time, I think, before you can feel really comfortable.
Let me just break it down as simple as possible. Nose filler can cause blindness.
I need to sleep at night, and that is
Yeah,
a good way not
yeah.
to. Welcome to Fill and Tell, where we spill the tea on all things aesthetics.
We're your hosts. I'm Megan.
And I'm Lauren.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on what goes on behind the treatment room door.
From filler to facelifts, skincare to aesthetic secrets.
We're taking you behind the scenes of the industry with unfiltered conversations, expert insights, and maybe a little gossip along the way. We hear that you want to become an aesthetic injector. And what better people to ask? So we're going to walk you through the minimum bare requirements needed, and then how we got to where we are, and then some pivotal experiences that make you go from good to great.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more people interested in getting into aesthetics now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you and I both have a ton of people who come and shadow us and really want to learn about aesthetics, learn about the space. I have people reach out to me all the time about how to get into it. What do I need to do? And so breaking it down and walking you through like how to make this a career, because up until recently, within the last 10 years or so, it really wasn't a very well-known career choice, right? Like you became a PA or an NP, you went to whatever specialty. Aesthetics was not necessarily a specialty you went into. And now it's, I think, a really highly sought after specialty in medicine.
Even 5 years ago when I joined our plastic surgery group, I was not joining for hopes and dreams of becoming an aesthetic injector or even being a plastic surgery PA. Like,
no, I know.
I needed a job because I was moving to Tallahassee, and I applied and I got it. And it was a gateway to just like the best job in the world, and something that I didn't really realize at the time that I would love.
I know.
So, but bare minimum, you of course need an undergraduate degree.
Right. War Eagle.
What?
I said War Eagle. I went to Auburn for undergrad.
And in the state of Florida, you have to be a nurse too. So you can't be an esthetician in Inject, is what I'm trying to say. So in Florida, you have to be MD, DO, PA, MP, and nurse.
Can you be a nurse injector, an RN injector in Florida?
I think, because I just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
They said that the only people that can't are estheticians, or like medical, etc.
Yeah, so you have to be very specific on your state. Texas is the Wild West, actually, because the trash man can also become an injector.
Well, that's why they're passing all these laws.
Yes.
But in a weird way, because now it affects the injectors that are actually...
And I think a lot of those, I think they were able to get it to a reasonable point. But in Texas, anyone can be an injector. Anyone can go to a course and become an injector.
Yeah.
It just seems so crazy to me.
It's weird. It's
so
crazy.
We went to undergrad, go to PA. We went to PA school. We're both PAs. But you can go to nursing school and then get a nurse practitioner if you want.
Yep.
My path was obviously into orthopedics first. I thought I wanted to go to medical school. Thought I wanted to be a surgeon. Changed that my junior year in college and went into a PA preceptorship program. That's really where I found out about PAs when I was in college, and decided that that's what I was going to do. Literally my junior year of college. I don't even know how I got into
me
PA
too,
school.
Actually. So crazy.
Because it was so fast, and now the requirements to get into PA school and all these other schools, it's so much harder now. I don't think I would get in.
Yeah, I wanted to be a dentist. I've always loved teeth.
I don't think I knew that.
And then I was in the dental pre-program, and then I think my sophomore, junior year, I found out what a PA was, and I was like, oh, that's super cool. Yeah. So I joined the program. The president of my sorority was the president of the program, and I was able to talk to her, and she kind of mentored me, and I was like, this is easily what I'm gonna, not that it's easy, this is just what I want to do. So yeah, anyways, both of our paths sort of led us to the ability to be an injector.
Right.
If you are in another specialty, trying to get a job in derm or plastics is probably going to be the best route for you.
Which is
get into
also
aesthetics.
hard.
It's very hard because, again, everybody sort of is wanting to do this job now. It's a very sought-after
career. To be a dermatology or a plastics, they have a very low turnover rate. They have very cush
I mean, think
jobs.
about it. We've been there 4 and 5 years, and then our coworker has been there
11,
over 10.
Yeah.
So we don't have a high level of turnover in terms of the providers that are there.
Right. But if you can get into derms or plastics, I think that's going to be the quickest way to obviously become, just surround yourself in aesthetics. And if you can't, and you're in an orthopedic specialty or primary care specialty, and you really want to try to become an injector, then trying to reach out to somebody to shadow, to like just go and see what it's about,
to mentor you,
right?
And just reaching out and saying, what can I do for you? Like, I would love to shadow you, but do you also need help at the front desk? Can I be a medical assistant? That is a great way to immerse yourself in a med spa, in the aesthetics field.
Yeah, so and it's interesting because, both of our medical assistants are estheticians. They want, my, assistant now wants to be an esthetician, a practicing one. And it was a good way for her. I mean, and she was very transparent about it when she interviewed. She was like, I want to be around aesthetics. Yeah. I want to learn about it before I go and do it. And I think this is a good way to do that. And obviously I encouraged her to make that a stepping stone. But it is a good way to lead you to another career in aesthetics as being an assistant, because what better way to learn than right alongside somebody who is doing this every single day.
And I do feel like having Sharon, who is our coworker, helped us get started in those beginning stages, because she knew what a Botox unit was. You don't even know those basic things that you have to know.
Right. So then getting into some training courses. So there's a ton of opportunity to train. There's basic training academies all over now where you don't have to have a job as an injector to go actually learn how to become an injector, which I think is great. We have the luxury of having reps and all of this help get these trainings, which you can just go off on your own and do some private training. So I would recommend, dipping your toes into that with very basic, 101. Yes. What is Botox? What is filler? What is facial anatomy? And really immersing yourself in the fundamentals, and doing that on your own.
Yeah, I agree. The education is the key. Education and marketing yourself. Just going out there and trying to, even cold calling, kind of just going out there, putting yourself out there. Always be studying, always looking for trainings. Patreon and Palette are great online resources that you can learn from. But you really have to show up and want it. This isn't going to fall in your lap. I have a friend of mine who lives in New York. She is in primary care. She's an NP. And she's been, for the past few years, doing a second job, just injecting out of a room. She just opened up her own med spa.
Oh, really?
And so she's still working.
She was the one in New York?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow,
she's still working
awesome.
in primary care, but she now has her own space. It's called Isla Aesthetics. And it goes to show, she's put in so much hard work. She literally did, I think, just a few days a week, maybe even a few hours after her primary care job, she would go and inject. And so she did it. She did the hard things. And it's slowly progressing. She looks great. The place looks great.
Right. So I think that's the hardest part, is that initial of how to actually become an injector. And then once you're an injector, there's tons of things that you have to do to continue to improve, because your first day on the job is a hot mess. Yeah. And so it takes a long time, I think, before you can feel really comfortable. So once you become an injector, how do you become a great injector, I think is going to be key for a lot of people. And it really kind of it separates the pack a little bit.
Yeah. I do notice that the difference to me between good injector and great injector is that the great injectors know their anatomy. They're always educating. And I do feel like they have an abundant knowledge of medicine. When I went into PA school, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to be working for a plastic surgeon or that I was going to be an aesthetic injector. And it's okay if that is your goal, but I also do think you have to have a level of love for medicine, because this is medicine.
Right.
While it's not doing a joint replacement like Brian, it is still treating patients. It's assessing them. It's diagnosing. And then injecting
and
medicine.
It's interesting that you say that, because just the other day your patient came in and needed to be referred because she had skin cancer.
Yes.
So like you have to have some knowledge to be able to say, hey, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not gonna treat it, but you need to be able to, yes, assess, diagnose, and then get that person to the right person. And so I know I don't know how I just remembered that, but yeah, so having some medical knowledge is key to becoming a great injector, and really continuing a lot of training. I mean, training doesn't stop after you learn the basics. It seems like it's never ending, actually.
I know. We always are asking each other, what course are we going to go to? Yeah. What training are we going to go to? Where are we going to go this year? And they're not cheap, and so you really have to prioritize the ones that you think you'll get the best bang for your buck out of.
Right. I think that's super key, I think, to becoming a great injector, and really humility, having some humility, because I think that's where you get into a lot of problems, is just thinking that you can do it all, that you can, do this nose filler that you saw on YouTube the other day.
Wait, but can we talk about when we were at a group dinner?
Yes.
With injectors in this town, and she was talking about performing nose filler.
Right. I do remember that.
Let me just break it down as simple as possible. Nose filler can cause blindness.
Yeah.
We actually don't do nose filler. I don't even know if we have an interest in doing nose filler. It's very risky.
One day, maybe.
But she was basically saying, "Oh, I don't do cheek filler because that's risky, but I inject nose filler."
Yeah.
And our jaws about dropped on the floor.
I know. So being a little humble in the things that you will and won't do. And I tell patients that all the time. I'm like, if you want this, I can refer you to somebody. If you really want some, forehead filler, I can refer you to somebody. Those are just areas that I haven't necessarily really been well trained on, that I'm not willing to risk a bad outcome and a really adverse outcome on somebody. I need to sleep at night, and that is a good way not to.
And also, if you do have an adverse event, learning from that. I think that's been really pivotal in our journeys.
Yeah, learning from your complications.
Yeah, like, why did that happen? How did that happen? We talk so much about it. We talk to other injectors who have kind of become our mentees, like Christina and Erica and Julie. You're able to get in contact with them. So just like not sweeping it under the rug, truly learning from it and figuring out, what anatomy did I hit? What went wrong here? Even with lasers, like, the skin does so many different things when it's hit with the laser. It's a lot to take in.
I know. And even yesterday I saw one of my patients back, and I did not like her filler. I didn't like it. I did it. I put it in there and I didn't like it. I was like, this just doesn't look right. And I think you have to be able to have that ego check just a second and just say, this doesn't look good. I need to fix it. And I put it in there. I'm taking responsibility for it, but to let somebody walk around like that when you know yourself that it doesn't look good, I think you have to hold yourself accountable and just say, it's okay, this happened, let's fix it, and, and move on.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are unwilling to do that. I get patients all the time from other injectors who are overfilled, and they don't want to dissolve them. They have so much ego around the work that they did. They cannot see the forest through the trees, that this is overfilled and it needs to be dissolved. And so they have to go to someone else, and I have to say, yeah, no, it definitely does. Like, let's work on this together.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, they're much happier and they look exponentially better.
Yes, I think that it's those hard conversations you have with patients that take you from the med spa down the street to, wow, this person actually knows what she's talking about.
Right.
I had that same thing happen with a patient who came to me wanting cheek filler, and I kid you not, the amount of filler that was in her face was probably 20 syringes.
Yeah.
And I that's a hard conversation. She wanted more filler. And you could see the filler just sort of sitting in her temple and then into her brow bone, where she thought she needed a brow lift, but it was just the filler weighing down her brows. And she actually ended up listening. She was like, okay, I trust you. I want you to do my dissolving. She was supposed to go out of town, and she came back the next day to do more dissolving. And she was like, I just really feel like you know what you're doing. And so
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, 2 personal stories of it, but it just, I think when you were talking about humility, it made me think about these things because humility opens up a lot of doors. It opens up the fact that you aren't the expert on everything. Mm-hmm. You can always be learning. Even the people we look up to, like Nicola Lowry, she's always learning. She's growing. Cadaver courses, constant trainings. Yeah. That's what's going to make you go from good to great.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in becoming an injector, anyone in the room want to become an injector, reach out to us. We're happy to always take shadowers. Our office is an open door for anyone who wants to come in and spend the day with us and follow us around and see what it's like to be an injector. I welcome it, and I, love to talk about it. So reach out to us if you do, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Until next time.